Shigai Milai Tava Gokula Kana Kana Brahma Shiva Narada Shruti Narayani Radhika Pada Raja Pujaye Mani Umarama Satya Sachi Chandra Rukmini Radha Avatara Sabe Amnayavani Sabe Amnayavani Heno Radha Parichaya Takaradana Bhakati Vinoda Tara Magaye Charana Vinoda Tara Marayajara Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Hey Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Ha Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Raman Bihari Radha Raman Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Rasa Bihari Radhe. Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Vino Bihari Radha Vino Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Oh Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe. Radhe Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe. Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe. Nanda Radhe. Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gora Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gora Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gora Hari. Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Gora Haribo. Haribo Gora Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Gora Haribo.
That's all I know. It came to the end. That's all I know. So, one interview. नहीं. Doordarshan? Yeah. It was terrible. Okay. Here we are in the wonderful world of the forest of material enjoyment. Agyanam timirandasya Gyananjana salakaya Chaksudanmilitam yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Twadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yang Pravajantam Manupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraka Taruajuhava Putre Ditanmayataya Tadavo Benedus Tang Sarvabu Hridayam Muni Manatusmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Chiptasya Kamadi Kripamayitam Sharanam Prapadyam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavoivasmi Najivami Tam Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayamam Charanantike. First, I offer my unlimited obeisances louder in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to our grandfather Guru Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, and Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to all his divine associates, and to all the assembled devotees, Diksha Gurus, all my Shiksha Gurus, Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Madhav Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Ban Maharaj, and Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Siddhanti Maharaj. Welcome to the wonderful world of the forest of material enjoyment. But first I would like to say something about the bhajans, which help us get out of that very same forest. When I first met Srila Gurudev, myself and the other English-speaking devotees, a lot of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, we would have darshans with him, with Gurudev, at the same time that the bhajans were going on in the temple, like 10 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock at night. And so I just thought that this was just something loud that didn't allow us to hear Gurudev very well, and vice versa. Then I would always be sure to miss a lot of it, because I thought that it was just music and song. And of course it's bhakti related. But now, after many years of suffering because of those concepts, I came to understand that the bhajans, kirtans, are not just I thought they were a pre-class happening. But then I came to understand that they are a class happening. Of all the instructions that Srila Gurudev and our whole Guru Parampara give, the main thing is praying. Praying to our Guru Varga, praying to Radha and Krishna, just as you do during the bhajans. So a lot of times we're lazy to do it by ourselves. And so they've created a system where just walk in and it happens for you. And then all you have to do is participate. There's so much philosophy there and so much opportunity for the right mood to come, for bhakti to come. Srila Gurudev was explaining last night and this morning that when you pray, means doing the bhajans, don't think about anything else, any problems, money, control, anything. Just think of the words that you're singing. become absorbed so that there is somebody on the other side in the song. There are people. Like, you know how we think, not us, but, and us sometimes, think that God is impersonal? And so, similarly, I have the experience, I'm not really a guru, don't get me wrong, but I have the experience that if I was, people think of guru as impersonal. Like they asked me to do something, and I said, great, Gurudev, I will definitely do that. And then they don't get back to you why they didn't do it. Because they think you're not a person like them. But there is somebody on the other side. Similarly, and even more so, because in the material world, both the body, both the person and the picture are illusion. And in the spiritual world, both the person and the picture are real, are facts. So there is somebody on this other side. Just like how are we supposed to start a class or a reading? You know, oh Prabhu, you're not a book. You're really Sukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Pariksit, Srila Prabhupada, who else is there? Jad Bharat, Rahugana. Please, all of you, be merciful to us and give us realization of what you're saying. Don't we want to realize what we're hearing? We want to realize the uselessness and illusion of it and the suffering of it, that we don't want to participate in that way. So, similarly, when we sing the bhajans, there are people on the other side, and they're seeing, does he really mean it? Is he singing to please others with a beautiful tune that no one could have imagined before? Or is he really calling out to me with grievous longing and lamentation and repentance? Then I, on the other side of the song, will reward the appropriate result. It's not a mechanical process. So this is a very important time, the bhajans. All right, so we're starting with a big bang here. Sometimes, we did, just to review the last verse that ended the last class. Government men are always like carnivorous demons, called Rakshasas, man-eaters. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes these government men turn against the conditioned soul and take away all his accumulated wealth. Being bereft of his life's reserved wealth, the conditioned soul loses all enthusiasm. Indeed, it is as though he loses his life. But get this one. Sometimes the conditioned soul imagines that his father or grandfather has again come in the form of his sons and grandsons. In this way, he feels the happiness one sometimes feels in a dream. And the conditioned soul sometimes takes pleasure in such mental concoctions. I usually don't read the purports, but I had to read this one. Due to ignorance, Prabhupada's purport, due to ignorance of the real existence of the Lord, the conditioned soul imagines many things. Influenced by fruitive activity, he comes together with his relatives, fathers, sons, and grandfathers. Exactly, you want to see what it's like? Exactly as straws gather together in a moving stream. In a moment, the straws are thrown everywhere and they lose contact. Another example is that trucks meet at a truck stop and say a couple of words and then that's the end. That's how society, friendship, and love is. And also, One other example is what, Krishna's half-father, Vasudeva? So he's trying to convince Kamsa not to be so attached to the body and bodily relatives, because he had a big saw and he was about to slice Devaki's head. So he's trying to give Kamsa some sense of detachment. So he told him that society and friendship and love are just like seaweed coming together in the waves of the river and then separating. So here we have straw. In a moment, the straws are thrown everywhere and they lose contact. In conditioned life, the living entity is temporarily with many other conditioned souls. They gather together as family members, material, and the material affection is so strong that even after a father or grandfather passes away, one takes pleasure in thinking that they return to the family. In material household life, one is ordered to execute many yagyas. So this can't be misinterpreted. This applies to material household life, where the aim is, the center is sense gratification. In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the verse says, and purport says that women love to be raped. So all the devotee women or readers of the Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, what, how terrible, this is so disgusting to women. How can you say that? But the answer is, it's gross materialistic women. And who are they raped by? Gross materialistic men. It doesn't apply to devotees. In one kirtan or one statement by Jamunacharya, he was a big king and he had lots of dancing girls and things. And then he became a devotee, he became renounced. And then he said, when I think of my former material sense gratification, I spit at the thought. So what did the brahmacharis in the old 1970s ISKCON temple do when they think of the brahmacharinis? So it's easy to misinterpret. So again, so in materialistic house, one is ordered to execute many yagyas and fruitive activities, because the wife can be the goddess of fortune or Maya. And so in the Vedic culture, she's considered the better half because she inspires them for bhakti. These are the duties: sacred thread ceremony for their children, marriage ceremony for their children. These are all duties of a grihastha, and they are very intensive and troublesome to execute. They are compared to a big hill over which one must cross when one is attached to material activities. A person desiring to cross over these ritualistic activities certainly feels pains, like the piercing thorns and pebbles endured by one attempting to climb a hill. In Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajans, he said that everything I went through, my business, my marriage, my getting children, my traveling for business and becoming prosperous and famous, they all ended up like being spears in my heart. Sometimes, due to bodily hunger and thirst, the conditioned soul becomes so disturbed that he loses his patience. Okay, this is interesting. And becomes angry with his own beloved sons, daughters, and wife, if he's hungry and thirsty. Thus, being unkind to them, he suffers all the more. Like I was unkind to Sumukhi this morning. I didn't at all like the breakfast that she made. So I complained no end to her and called her all kinds of names. And then I suffered all the more because I don't want to be annoyed at people. Sukadeva Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Pariksit. My dear king, sleep is exactly like, don't we love sleep? Sleep is exactly like a python. Those who wander in the forest of material life are always devoured by this python of sleep. Being bitten by this python, they always remain in the darkness of ignorance. They're like dead bodies thrown in a distant forest. Thus, the conditioned souls cannot understand what is going on in life. In the forest of material world, the conditioned soul is sometimes bitten by envious enemies, which are compared to serpents and other creatures. Through the tricks of the enemy, the conditioned souls fall from his prestigious position. Being anxious, he cannot even sleep properly. He loves sleep, but he can't sleep properly. He thus becomes more and more unhappy. And we sing about that, like Bhajahare Mana Srinandanandana, and so many regretting and lamenting kirtans. They purify us because we're connecting with the acharyas who sang them. And before we sing each song, we pray to the person who wrote the song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Lochan Das Thakur, whose appearance day is tomorrow, that please make your words and my heart one. Please make your heart and my heart one. For me, it's just ink on a paper. Please change my heart. And so by their mercy, yes, it's purifying. When Srila Prabhupada was commenting on one of Srila Narottam Das Thakur's kirtans, he said, lamentation is purification. But that doesn't mean wallowing is purification. It means singing through the songs, because they have the power. And as Gurudev said one day in England, during one of his Harikatha tours, we were all singing bhajans, and he came in, sat down on the couch, and then after the bhajan he said, just by chanting Hare Krishna, what will happen? You'll be full of all material desires. What? And then he explained that because that's what you're going in with. So if you sing the bhajans, that changes our mood. And so many of the songs are, when will I, how will I, I'm waiting. So then it starts taking effect, and it becomes I, me. So it becomes my song, along with the prayer that it become my song. Being anxious, he cannot even sleep properly. He thus becomes more and more unhappy, and he gradually loses his intelligence and consciousness. In that state, he becomes almost perpetually like a blind man who has fallen into the dark well of ignorance. Seeing what? Sights of blindness and sounds of deafness. Who said that? Srila Saraswati Thakur, on the appearance day of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. The conditioned soul is sometimes attracted to the little happiness derived from sense gratification. Thus he has illicit sex or steals another property. At such a time, he may be arrested by the government or chastised by the woman's husband or protector. Yeah, it's terrible. I was just remembering one of my godbrothers, not to mention names, he was one of the ISKCON gurus, and he maybe he wasn't feeling the ecstasy that he knew he was supposed to as a guru in Prem. So he started taking LSD and dancing around naked, and a lot of devotees thought this was, finally we have a god brother who's in ecstasy. And then he fell in love with his disciple who was married to some other man, and then the other man chopped his head off, and it was a mess. So it does happen. Okay. Thus, simply for a little material satisfaction, he falls into a hellish condition and is put into jail for rape. So you see there's somebody else there. Kidnapping, theft, and so forth. As I often mention, even our president, like one president was so uncontrolled, even though he had everything at his command. And this is what Gurudev said, that he fell down with one of the secretaries. He was so lusty, couldn't control his senses. And then it became, a world news article. And another one, he was so rich, another president, and then he was impeached for embezzlement. So how crazy the material mind is. Learned scholars and transcendentalists, therefore, condemn the materialistic path of fruitive activity. What does fruitive activity mean? Yeah, for an enjoyment result, doing something for enjoyment result. And they condemn the materialistic path because it is the original source and breeding ground of material miseries, both in this life and the next. Stealing or cheating another person out of his money, the conditioned soul somehow or other keeps it in his possession and escapes punishment. Then another man named Devadatta cheats him and takes the money away. Similarly, another man named Vishnu Mitra steals the money from Devadatta and takes it away. In any case, the money does not stay in one place. What's another name for the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi? Chanchal, you good scholars you are all. Means she never stays in one place for too long. Somebody may be rich, then they lose everything. Or even if they can keep it, this whole one life, which is just like a bubble coming up in the ocean and then popping and going down again, in the next life, they could be a bacteria or a plum tree. Ultimately, no one can enjoy the money, and it remains the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He always has it. Everything is always in him. Srila Bhakti began Bharati Goswami Maharaj once told of a man who was rich and his relatives killed him for it, and then they had the money, and then the man came back as their son, and he was sick, so they had to keep spending the money on him. And then finally when they spent all the money, then somehow or other he was granted the wisdom to remember his past life, and he told them what happened. That's a real story. This is all real. Okay, being unable to protect himself from the threefold miseries of material existence, the conditioned soul becomes very morose and lives a life of lamentation. These threefold miseries are miseries suffered by mental calamity at the hands of the demigods. We forget that all of this is controlled. Such as freezing wind. There's a person behind the freezing wind. Who is it? It's freezing wind would be, could be Vayu. Miseries offered by other living entities and miseries arising from the mind and body themselves. So example of miseries arising from the mind and body, it's too hot. No, that's another misery. It has to go to the bathroom and it's in the rain. Right outside of his store, there's nowhere to go to the bathroom. That's caused by the body and mind. I gained something by great endeavor and then I lost it. Misery of the mind. And then even a virus is caused by other living entities, the virus. But the virus is told by the demigods whose body to enter because of our past karma. And then miseries caused by other living entity. It could be a mosquito, a virus, somebody's boss. Actually, when Srila Bodhayan Maharaj was here, he said in his class, he just passed through saying, I don't mean pass through the temple, I mean pass through in his class saying, and the guru suffers the most. So I looked up at him and said, why? He said, because the disciples don't listen. So, okay, so these are called, what is miseries of the body called? Atma. In my own Atma, there's these miseries. Adi Atmaka, and then by other living entities, Adi Bhautika, and then caused by material nature or demigods, Adi Dayavata. Very good, yes. Didn't you read about that? There was one day that I was missing in the Rahugana Bharat, Judd Bharat. Weren't you reading that? Can somebody find that? He said, how could the soul suffer? Or does the soul suffer when the body covers? Can you remember where that is? Then he uses the example of a pot or a dish. I read it many, many years ago, and I was unhappy that I wasn't there that day, because I really wanted to hear just that answer. But then we also hear that the soul, there is never any birth nor death. Yeah, he's beyond time, he's beyond space. As far as transactions with money are concerned, and he's dreaming. I dreamt, like if we have thoughts, Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book that sometimes you have thoughts during the day, like I saw a mountain and I saw some gold, so I'll dream of a golden mountain. It's all a dream. So how to connect that dream with this, does the soul suffer? Because he doesn't, but he's dreaming that he's suffering. But why should he be affected even by the dream? So let's see what Judd Bharat says. Yeah. Loud? Right. It's a dream, what I consider myself. But he's asking, does the soul proper suffer? Is that what you were asking? Is it because the soul is suffering, you're asking? Okay, good. So we'll see what they say. And in this, if you can't find it, I'll try to find it before the next reading. In this materialistic life, there are many difficulties, as I have just mentioned. And all of these, oh, what? Right. Yeah, right. That's same thing that he was saying. Yeah, it's one's own mind and one's own body. And then his second part of his question is, does the actual soul suffer? It's not touched. But I'm looking for that particular answer. That if you can't find it, it's okay, I'll find it during the day. In this materialistic life, there are many difficulties, as I have just mentioned, and all of these are insurmountable. In addition, there are difficulties arising from so-called happiness, distress, attachment, hate, fear, false prestige, illusion, madness, lamentation, bewilderment, greed, envy. Can anybody relate to any of these? Insult, hunger, thirst, tribulation, disease, birth, old age, death. All these combine together to give the materialistic conditioned soul nothing but misery. Now in the purport, it says the conditioned soul has to accept all these conditions. But again, it's by dream. Simply to enjoy sense gratification in this world. Yeah, and as Shiva Prabhu said, it's all conceptions, it's all mental speculation. Sometimes the conditioned soul is attracted by illusion personified, his wife or girlfriend, and becomes eager to be embraced by a woman. Thus, he loses his intelligence as well as knowledge of life's goal. At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation like Bharat Maharaj, he became attracted to the deer, and he forgot everything, even though he was almost on the stage of Bhava Bhakti. And he gave up his whole kingdom as one gives up stool after passing it. Bharat Maharaj gave up his whole family, kingdom and everything, but still he forgot all of his spiritual cultivation. As soon as he laid eyes on the mother of the deer and her anxious glance at him, please do something, save my son, then he was lost. At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation, he becomes overly attached to his wife or girlfriend and tries to provide her with a suitable apartment. Again, he becomes very busy under the shelter of that home and is captivated by the talks, glances, and activities of his wife and children. In the third canto is described like when kids can't speak well. What do you call it? In what? Huh? No, not an impediment, just the way kids talk. Huh? Yeah, gibberish, incoherent or whatever. How cute. Just a side note, uh, we were having a Gurudev glorification in Badger, in one Badger festival, and Sudevi, of the bhajan team, Sudevi and Kishori Mohan, she said that they're very good singers and very good speakers, and she said Gurudev told them, "I like your Goo Goo Gaga." It means that you're not a realized soul, you're not perfect in precision of what you're saying, but I appreciate, dear children, that you're trying. Again, he becomes very busy under the shelter of that home and is captivated by the talks, glances, and activities of his wife and children. In this way, so no one should think that the grihasthas that are coming up are like that or are less than them. Because if you remember, one of the sannyasi disciples of Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave a class in which he said, householders are, what? Rotten. And then Gurudev complained to Srila Prabhupada, who called for that sannyasi, and he said, "You are rotten. I don't think you're even initiated." In this way, he loses his Krishna consciousness and throws himself in the dense darkness of material existence. That was a lot of the material world. Should we talk about what Champak's question was yesterday? I thought you found it. Oh. Sometimes she reveals herself. Didn't say when. Yes. Can you take the mic? Can you wait? Yes.
When you were speaking on this particular topic, and the strangeness of the fact that I think I'm a householder and I'm hearing all these things and identifying so strongly, yes to all of those innumerable qualities. But one thing I was thinking about the Bhagavatam, how Gurudev would say that every verse of the Bhagavatam is actually a glorification of Srimati Radharani. And so you would think, well, how is this actually a glorification of Radharani? But I can see, or I would feel, and I'm sure you will correct me, that when we hear about the glancing of Radharani and Krishna, or when we hear about the touching of Radharani and Krishna, when we hear about all of the loving exchanges between Radha and Krishna, then if we haven't heard this, then we may not understand the purity of what it is we're trying to get to come to that position of being able to have some shadow of understanding of what pure love is like. So we have to actually really go through this and really deeply meditate on the fact that, yes, I'm in this particular condition, and I'm actually in no qualification to be able to see the higher source of this in the pure love and affection and the pureness of Radha and Krishna. So it's actually very important to actually identify more, not as some kind of grihastha ashram and I'm a devotee, but it's actually much more valuable to say, oh, but for the grace of Guru, there go I, because I'm still there without the association of the Vaishnavas. Would I hear this at home? Heck no. I'm not going to, so I would avoid this at all costs, but because of the association of the Vaishnavas hearing this, then I'm able to appreciate so much more what our ultimate destination is. So I love this stuff.
Even that girl who came yesterday, Titi, the friend of Tripurari Prabhu, I said, so, I'm sorry about the class yesterday. I'm sorry about the class. It was like so powerfully negative about the material world. She said, oh, I thought it was beautiful. Yeah. All right.
The pot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. King Rahugana continued, "My dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated, one after the other. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from conditioning." This is King Rahugana saying. And then...
Could you repeat that? It's quite a complex analogy.
Yeah, so basically, I'll try and put it in my own words. King Rahugana is saying that that designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated one after the other. He's saying, similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this condition. Now the purport says, by Srila Prabhupada, this argument put forward by Maharaj Rahugana is correct from the practical point of view, but it arises from an attachment to the bodily conception. It can be said that a person sitting in his car is certainly different from his car, but if there is damage to the car, the owner of the car, being overly attached to the car, feels pain. Actually, the damage done to the car has nothing to do with the car's proprietor.
You hit me.
Yeah, like this.
But you didn't hit me, you hit the car.
Yeah, the conception that I am this body.
Again, it comes back to the dream and the
Yeah.
mental concoction.
But because the proprietor has identified himself with the interest of the car, he feels pleasure and pain connected with it. This conditional state can be avoided if attachment is withdrawn from the car.
Good.
Yeah.
Wake up from the dream. What is that? Utistata jagrataha. Loud. Why did you put down the mic?
Utistata jagrata prapya varan nibodat shirasya dharatai durgam patastat kavayo varanti.
Meaning? And where is that from?
This is from, what is it from? Oh, shoot. It's from the Vedas. It's from, I forget exactly.
The Vedic version.
The Vedic version, saying that all the learned learned transcendentalists all say that spiritual life is like walking on a razor's edge, so one should wake up and take this human form of life very seriously.
What do you mean it's walking like a razor's edge?
Like, it's like walking on a razor's edge.
How? If you're shaving, you're using a razor.
Yeah.
But the slightest inattention, and you get cut and blood.
Yeah.
So if you're inattentive in spiritual pursuit, you can fall down and make a mess of it, everything. Good, thank you. Good, Agarja, did you want to say something?
No, but I do remember, actually, I was thinking about this lecture from Gurudev where he actually posed this exact question. He said, who is suffering? And he asked, and he mentioned something about Jad Bharat and Atma Gyan. So I'm just kind of trying to assimilate the answer is no. It's due to conception that the soul is suffering.
Right. Kata Upanishad. Wake up, living entity, and don't miss this human form of life. Prabhupada was saying that verse in one lecture in Arlington Street Church, one of his outdoor engagements in Boston in 1969. And he said, just like two cows, they're on the line to the slaughterhouse. And they see that the cow in front of them is going to be slaughtered, and they're so unconscious they don't try to run away or anything. They're just dull. And then they're eating the grass and fighting over the grass. Or in the next step, they're going to be killed. So that's how we are in our conditioned life. Right, well, guess what Krishna does? The personal weapon used by Lord Krishna, the disc, is called Hari Chakra, the disc of Hari. This chakra is the wheel of time. It expands from the beginning of the atoms. Oh, there's a whole chapter in the 3rd canto called Time from the Atom. It controls all activities. So this chakra is the wheel of time. It expands from the beginning of the atoms up to the time of Brahma's death, and it controls all activities. It is always revolving and spending the lives of the living entities, from Brahma down to an insignificant blade of grass. Thus one changes from infancy to childhood to youth and maturity, and thus one approaches the end of life. It is impossible to check the wheel of time. One of Srila Gurudev's disciples, very creative, artistic devotee, he created this, wish I could get it for showing in class. I'll write to him. So you see a cannon, you know what a cannon is, like in the old war days? So the cannon shoots out, and it shoots out this newborn baby, and he starts flying backwards in the sky. So the whole thing is he's flying backwards, and he keeps getting older and older, and then he starts, as a baby, you know, everything's fine, and then he starts covering up his private parts, and then he starts getting older and older, and then ends up in the grave. That's the whole thing. So this wheel of time is always spinning the lives of the living entities. Okay. I think we're going to stop it here because some of you need to go, and I don't want to hold you up. It's already 5 to 11. Oh, to take out a picnic? Right? Oh, I see. So you're waiting for the lunchtime prasad to come and you'll take it out? Okay, great. All right. But we will end here anyway. No, I think we'll just do this verse. It's very, very illustrious. So it is always revolving and spending the lives of the living entities, from Lord Brahma down to an insignificant blade of grass. Thus one changes from infancy to childhood, to youth, to maturity, and thus one approaches the end of life. It is impossible to check the wheel of time. This wheel is very exacting because it is the personal weapon of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the conditioned soul, fearing the approach of death, maybe you could remind each other of this on the way, so that, and anyway, Gurudev said, I'm giving a class now, and if you talk about it after the class is over, as you go on with your next activities, then it'll come in your heart. And if you don't, and you talk about something else, it'll evaporate in the air. Sometimes the conditioned soul, fearing the approach of death, wants to worship someone who can save him from imminent danger. Yet he does not care for the Supreme Lord, whose weapon is the indefatigable time factor. The conditioned soul instead takes shelter of a man-made God described in unauthorized scriptures. Such gods are like, ready? Such gods are like buzzards, vultures, herons, and crows. Vedic scriptures do not refer to them. Imminent death is like the attack of a lion, and neither vultures, buzzards, crows, nor herons can save one from such an attack. one who takes the shelter of unauthorized man-made gods cannot be saved even from the clutches of death. So, Harim Bina Mritim Na Taranti. No one can save himself from the cruel hands of death. And then no one knows where he's going after that. So, continue with your SV music. Okay, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, even, the Hippocrates, I love the Hippocrates way of life of, pure foods. But then, even the lady who established Hippocrates, she founded it. She was suffering from like stage 4 cancer, and then she cured herself by pure foods. And you can cure yourself from diabetes with pure foods. But then she was 84 years old, doing well, and then there was a house fire that she was in, and she died from inhaling all the air, all the smoke. So when it's supposed to come, it comes. Huh? Rake Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rake Ke. What does that mean? Who Krishna wants to kill, no one can save. Who Krishna wants to save. What, Vasanti, you going to sing a song? Yeah.
Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you.
Who thought like that? Maharaj Ambarish. Durvasa threw a fire demoness at him. He threw his dreadlock on the floor, and a big fire demoness came out. And Maharaj Ambarish was just standing there, remembering the pastimes of Krishna and remembering that understanding. So we'll end here. Are there any questions or comments? I can tell you a couple of things until Vasanti finds it. About the same thing? Different things. Okay, so you can present that anytime you like. What's happening tonight? Is it Harinam or is it a program? Oh, so there's a program outside the temple that devotees can go to for kirtan. Yeah. And you can distribute prasadam there, right, Vasanti? What did they ask? What did they ask? What? Okay. And prasadam? Yeah. Find out all that. Okay. So just one thing that regarding thinking of during tilak, when we say Om anybody, Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayanaya Namaha, it means, again, putting our whole attention there. Like two people can do the exact same thing with the exact same years, and one of them advances and one of them doesn't advance so well, because one of them is putting his attention there. When Prabhupada was giving a class at a university, at the end somebody asked, what does Krishna consciousness mean? And Prabhupada said, what do I mean when I say it? Do it conscientiously. And the person said, do it with attention. Yeah, so that's what it means. Do it with attention. But why did I say that? Right? Right, and why did I say that? Thank you. What to do when you put on tilak. Gurudev said slow and with attention. So Om Keshavaya Namaha. Thinking of the meaning of the name. Krishna has different names according to different activities and different qualities. So I can think of, there's a number of meanings that I can give it, like in relation to Radharani. Krishna decorates the braid of Radharani and then he faints when he sees it. Or I can think of Krishna who has fine hair. I have choices. Or I can think of both. But I only have that much time. Om Keshavaya Namaha. And that means I am na maha. Na. I'm giving up all connection and attachment to all material sense gratification and people. And I'm taking full shelter of you. I'm surrendering to you. So we can put that for every name. And then, like Madhavaya, I think it's time to stop. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Tomorrow is Lochandas Thakur's appearance day. So can all the bhajans be his bhajans? And he has so many beautiful soot and lime bhajans. Yeah. Ashes, wandering for nothing in birth and death. Okay, good. We have wonderful things to look forward to tomorrow. And today and tonight, your announcement?
To have a better system with the cleaning up in the kitchens and stuff, and like pots and stuff, and just Vasanti and I came up with an idea of like having like buddies, or like each person is in a paired up couple, and then to distribute the pots more evenly rather than just like Sukanta and Jaganananda on it every day. We each take rounds doing it. What?